Good morning on the West and afternoon on the East. Looky who's here. Somebody's been taking some time off.
Look at you.
Look at you.
Look at yourself.
Look at yourself. What are you doing on your vacation?
As you know, I sent you a picture. I was painting the house for much of the vacation, so I got a little work. A very productive vacation. This wasn't the classic go to the beach and just hang out and kick back. This was work.
You had what I call a classic staycation where you did all the things that you enjoy to do, correct?
Some of the things I enjoyed to do and some of the things I didn't really enjoy to do. Anyway, it's nice. It's kind of a quiet transition back. There's not a lot of people here, but we do have. So, Carrie, I got breaking news right away.
Is it really breaking?
It is. We got breaking news. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski saying that Chauncey Billups has withdrawn his name from consideration for Cleveland's president of basketball operations job. Of course, David Griffin and the Cavs parted ways in June, and now Chauncey has decided he's not going to take the job there in Cleveland. For much more on this, let's bring in Woj. And Adrian, what more can you tell us about that decision by Chauncey Billups?
Well, Chauncey let the Cavaliers know this morning that he was out of the process, that he had talked with Dan Gilbert and the organization, spent a couple days in Cleveland shortly after David Griffin was let go. And then there's been a back and forth here for the last over a week between the sides. And they never could come to an agreement on the parameters on the job. And I think, and Chauncey just issued me, I just got a statement from Chauncey that'll be posted here soon at ESPN.com. But essentially he's saying that the timing, he'd like someday to still run an NBA organization. But for him, the timing wasn't right, and he's going to stay. He's going to stay at ESPN and stay as an analyst here.
All right, you talk about timing. It's not great timing not to have your decision maker in place with free agency going. Where does this leave Dan Gilbert and the Cavs?
Well, they have an assistant general manager, Kobe Altman, who has been manning the phones, been running their trade talks, their free agency, and Dan Gilbert is very hands-on there, and that's part of the reason Dave Griffin is no longer there. And, the owner takes on that role there. And that's the case in many other organizations too. But Altman is very capable, well-respected around the league. He was deep in putting together the package that potentially would have brought Cleveland Paul George, that Indiana moved in another direction and did the Oklahoma City deal at the very end. So he's adept at putting together big deals. He's been part of that and David Griffin's staff. So for right now, Kobe Altman will continue to lead their front office, and now Dan Gilbert has to pivot and decide whether he wants to look in the direction of Altman or does he want to continue to look outside the organization to target someone else, because Chauncey Billups was Dan Gilbert's target from the moment that he let David Griffin go.
Hey, Adrian, obviously over the last few years, LeBron has been a pretty good recruiter there in Cleveland. We've heard that he's been less active with free agents this offseason. What should we read into that?
Well, they're not in a position to lure big free agents. They don't have salary cap space. They're capped out unlike anybody in the league. So they're looking at veteran minimum type deals, and there's no star quality that's available to them here in free agency. So they've been really more focused on the trade front here.
All right, so we shouldn't look deeply into that. It's just sort of how things present itself with their cap.
David, could you repeat that for me?
I was just saying that just to put a bow on that, it's basically you're saying that it's not as much what LeBron is or is not doing. It's just the fact that they don't have much cap room, and so there isn't much recruiting to be done.
No, there isn't. And listen, I think he's they're going to have an opportunity here to bring in veteran players who might, what's going to happen now is the market's going to shake out, and as players realize they're not getting the deals, the financial deals they thought they might get somewhere else, there'll be some players, Golden State, any of the contenders will be in a position to sign players at that veteran minimum who want to play with LeBron, want to play potentially for a championship. But free agency isn't quite to that point yet. A lot of those players are still looking for bigger deals. That usually shakes out over the month of July here.
Okay. Our NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, giving us the news that Chauncey Billups will not be in the front office of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Carrie, back to you.
All right, David, thank you. He also reports that Carmelo Anthony is open to waiving his no-trade clause to go to the Rockets or the Cavs. In Houston, he would join his friend James Harden, but his best friend Chris Paul, as you know, recently there. In Cleveland, it would be LeBron. Melo has 2 years and $54 million left on his deal, plus a trade kicker that could pay him more than $8 million. Life as an NBA player is really good. We'll get to that eventually. Meanwhile, we welcome in our Knicks reporter, Ian Begley. Thank you so much for joining us on this holiday weekend. In your opinion, you know Melo well. You've covered him for some time. Better fit for the Rockets or for the Cavs?
I look at that Houston team and I think about Carmelo and what he did on those Olympic teams as kind of just a third option, spot-up shooter, how deadly he was. And I think he could fill that role in Houston with Chris Paul and James Harden, you know, as long as he could work things out with Mike D'Antoni. I think he could be a pretty deadly weapon for those Houston Rockets. So, you know, you look at on-court fit, I understand some people say there wouldn't be enough balls to go around between Chris Paul, James Harden, and Carmelo. But think back to those Olympic teams and how well he played off of guys and how many open looks he got. And I think he could be so effective in that role under Mike D'Antoni.
If he had a choice, though, don't you think he'd want to go play with LeBron as opposed to CP3, or is it equal in terms of his loyalty?
You know, he's so close to both of those guys. I don't know if he would put one over the other. I don't want to speak for him. I just know that, you know, outside of New York, this is kind of a dream scenario for him, getting a chance to play with LeBron James or getting a chance to play with Chris Paul, you know, two of his closest friends in the NBA and in life. So I think that's why he's open to Houston. He's open to Cleveland. And I'm sure, you know, a perfect scenario for Carmelo is to get a buyout and to go to the team of his choice, whether it's Houston, Cleveland, or elsewhere. But I don't think the Knicks are open to that right now. They're not willing to part with Carmelo Anthony without getting assets back, and they'd like to bring on assets that are young and cheap. So they're kind of at a standstill right now.
Yeah, you're right. Again, for everyone at home, 2 years left on the deal, $54 million, and if he is traded, more than $8 million in a kicker. You know what? I'm in the wrong position. I think that I should have been an NBA player. What about you?
I'm with you, Carrie. I mean,
I
should have worked on my
good.
jump shot. I should have worked on my vertical.
Yeah. You didn't do that, right?
No, not enough. Not enough. I don't know where I went wrong, but you and I both could have gotten paid these last couple of days if we followed our dreams and went to the NBA.
I agree. Ian Begley, thank you so much for joining us from New York. David, I'm going to send it back to you. You, too, could have been a basketball player making millions right now.
Very close. Just missed on that NBA contract. We've got our NBA analyst Tom Penn in here with us. We always ask you to do the impossible. We hear that Melo's decided
that was the
Houston.
impossible. Begley is an NBA player. That's the impossible.
All right.
Or us.
Fit him in. And let's start with Houston and spitball a trade or maybe a three-team, whatever it would take to get Melo in a Rockets uni.
It's tricky to do this because we know the new deal here. Chris Paul front and center, along with James Harden. In terms of the assets they're going to need to make a deal happen, here's the five on the floor that I have, because if they're going to bring Carmelo Anthony in via trade, Anderson is the money that works. A lot of money has to go out to bring in his 26.2. Anderson's the start of that, but we've heard they don't want Ryan Anderson. So I'm going to come back, bring Carmelo out, and I'm going to try to do now a 2-for-1 with Melo with Ariza, and then we'd also have to get Gordon out of here. So I'll bring in P.J. Tucker, because their money is going to have to come out if they're going to bring in 26.2. Okay. Now, this is fine for the Rockets. I'm sure they'd be happy with this because now they have a new big three to take a look at. You got him, you got him, and you got him. And you got Melo right in the middle of an Olympic-type experience, an all-star-type experience, and he's been a different player in those settings. He wasn't very good with Mike D'Antoni when he's the lead option. He's actually proving to be a loser in that role. He could be a winner in this role. He behaved differently, and I think that's why it would be a fit. But we got to do a whole other thing to see whether this makes sense for New York, which it doesn't, which is why we'd have to get into a three-way deal, giving these assets to somebody else to get New York what they want.
Seems like you're giving up a lot of good young players, especially they gave up guys in the Chris Paul deal, for aging. The guys need the basketball in their hands. I mean, is this really the recipe to?
It's called go for it.
Now.
Yeah.
And you got 1 or 2 good years of these guys, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Melo to the Cavs. How would you do that? Let's.
So I would take Melo.
Here.
He'd go right in the middle of the Cavs. Okay. Now this team is totally capped out. We know that. They're into the luxury tax. The way that they got him there was Kevin Love was there. So Kevin Love, you see the similarity in the money.
A little bit different, right? There's a slop factor where you could be within.
The fudge factor.
Slop
factor. I like that.
You like that too? Okay.
Yeah, that works.
We can get that.
But look, they're going to have to give up at least around $22 million if they're going to bring in Melo's $26 million plus his trade kicker, and he could be kicked up another $8 million over 2 years. Again, same problem. Does he fit for the Knicks, right? But we know that this would now work from a talent standpoint. You'd have this guy leading the way. Don't forget about him, right? And then you put Melo with him. You know, it's pretty interesting to see that big three along with Thompson, along with J.R. Smith or whoever else you want to bring in off the bench.
You think that would be a better team than with Kevin Love? Melo for Love is a better team.
Yes, this guy just scores the ball. We can talk all about, I just called him a loser. We can talk all about the things that are wrong when he's in the role he's in New York. But you put him with this kind of talent, he's a beast. He's unguardable.
All right, so there you have. And you think a third team would be necessary here, or would just be a?
Probably, because I don't think Kevin Love fits in New York on their timetable.
Right.
I think they would want to flip him to Phoenix. Earlier, I talked about him flipping to Boston, but I forgot about the fact that would be Boston helping Carmelo get here. So I'm rescinding my last stupid idea.
You can take that back. We asked you to come up with a lot of ideas. You throw them against the wall, and some of them.
I'd look at Phoenix in this case. I'd say send Kevin to Phoenix, and they got a lot of young pieces, and we could throw something together and make it work.
All right, here we go. Tom Penn giving us some thoughts. Carrie, kick it back to you.
All right, David. So David, another David Jacoby of Jalen and Jacoby joins us now. If you guys didn't hear, this just in, Carmelo Anthony is open to playing with one of his friends in Cleveland or in Houston. Ian Begley reporting that Chris Paul has been working on this since the beginning of the year, saying in terms of, I'd like to play with my friend. It's no surprise. You already know what the Banana Boat crew wants to do. That's why we're yellow.
Banana Boat Day.
Because I feel like something major could happen. Best scenario for Carmelo, in your opinion?
The best scenario for Carmelo Anthony is first, just get out of New York. Just get out of New York. It is a dumpster fire of a franchise currently, and he's going to leave, and they want him out too. But the best part about this is he has a no-trade clause. They have to ask his permission to trade him. Only LeBron James and Dirk Nowitzki are the other players in the NBA. Great work by Phil Jackson. I don't know why he ever signed that. But anyway, as enticing as it is for him to go to play with the Rockets, I don't think he's a fit for what they want to do philosophically. They shoot a lot of threes and layups, and they already have 2 point guards, and they want to move the ball. And Carmelo Anthony is a ball stopper. The best fit for him when it comes to these options is the Cleveland Cavaliers, in my opinion. One of the Cavaliers' biggest problems was LeBron James gets tired. They just simply couldn't function when LeBron James wasn't on the floor. And what Carmelo Anthony can do is help out when LeBron James is on the bench. And LeBron James led the league in minutes. This would take a lot of minutes off of LeBron James's plate, and he would not be as exhausted as he was when we saw him in the fourth quarter of those finals games.
But here's my question. And when Ian said this, I should have asked him, we have short memories, right? Because Mike D'Antoni, and from my understanding, Carmelo did not get along when he was the coach of the Knicks. Do you think bygones be bygones if he ends up playing for the Rockets? Well, I feel as if it'd come back.
There's a term that winning is the best deodorant.
Okay.
You know, so when you're losing, of course things are going poorly. But when you've got Chris Paul and James Harden and Carmelo Anthony on the same team, if that's happening, guess what? It's going to go great. And you know what else happened with Mike D'Antoni? He was bad for the Knicks. He was bad for the Lakers. And now, Coach of the Year. Winning is the best deodorant.
System. Okay, so if Melo went to the Cavs, if, as you suggested, does that keep LeBron there? Or are we all under the impression that LeBron's a one-year rental?
It feels like it. Doesn't it feel like it now? I mean, there were these reports that he's going. I think the truth of the matter is that LeBron James' heart of hearts does not know what he's going to do.
That's fair.
I think that's fair, right? But when you look at all this, there's reports that he's not recruiting free agents to come to the Cavs. And then there's also reports that he wants to go to the Lakers. And everybody seems to say he wants to go to the Lakers like it's a done deal. I know you love that because I know you love your.
I know
you love LA. You can just hit him on the text. Hit Irving on the text.
Irv.
Hit him up and see what's happening. But like we all assume that he's going there, but The Cavs haven't done much. Remember, LeBron just lost he almost got swept by the Warriors. And what have they done? They signed Jose Calderon. They're like, you know what, LeBron, we are Jose Calderon away from beating those Warriors.
Yeah.
That's not going to get it done.
Okay, but let's be fair. Let's take a look at the landscape. There is no team, no matter how many people they sign. God bless the Rockets, right? They're going to put all these players in. They've got James Harden. They have Chris Paul. Maybe they get Melo. Does that really make them a serious contender against the Warriors?
Yes.
Do you think they could actually beat the Warriors?
If you put Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and James Harden on the same basketball team, that is a team that can compete with the Warriors.
They can't compete. Can they beat them? My point is like, I would think LeBron is like, that's a couple of moves away, as opposed to one or two player moves away. That's a few more.
Would they be favored? No. Could they beat the Warriors? Yes. But this is all hypothetical because Carmelo Anthony is now in the New York Knicks, and that Knicks team is not beating anybody.
This is the perfect time. I like hypotheticals.
Yeah.
I like
this is why the summer is fun. It's all speculation.
We're in the barbershop right now. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So what about the other friend in the banana boat who's actually has a banana boat by himself, Dwayne Wade? What's going on with my guy?
Dwayne Wade is all alone on vacation. You know, he's watching all this banana boat brother stuff happening, and he's just alone with Gabrielle Union.
A hard life in Monaco.
Just on a yacht in Monaco.
It's a tough life.
Yeah, but
let's take a listen to him just, trying to get over things.
Nobody's on the banana boat this year.
Look at their toes.
Aww, it's a lonely banana boat.
Story, bro.
That's a true story, bro. Lonely banana boat.
That is not what he signed. When he went to Chicago, this is not what he signed up for. Jimmy Butler's gone. Rondo's gone. Now he's just lonely banana boat brother all by himself in Chicago. It'd be interesting to see what happens if he gets bought out.
I would think they would want to, but do they keep him around because just the veteran presence?
Veteran leadership and buying a player out. I mean, it's just like it's kind of silly. It's just like, here's a bunch of money, now go away, but it still doesn't help you with the salary cap or anything. So I'm not so sure that they'll buy him out.
Maybe he's asking. I hope they do too.
For him, he looks lonely. He looks sad.
Yeah, he wants to hang out. Okay, so we have an Explain Yourself. I love when you're here because we can do these Explain Yourself.
Let's do it.
This is one of my favorite players in the NBA, you guys. Now that Kobe's retired, I always have to put that on. Here we go. Take a look at this Explain Yourself. It's Kawhi Leonard. He ran some errands. And he's wearing... What is he wearing?
He's wearing game shorts.
Yeah, and...
He's wearing game shorts and Tim Duncan socks, and he's carrying a Gatorade. It seems like he's ready for an NBA game at any time, at any day.
I mean...
He's a basketball robot. I do not think he's a human being. Where do you put your wallet? Where do you put your keys? How do you get in your car?
I mean, he's not shopping, clearly. He's just... Because he doesn't shop. Remember? He's frugal. He saves.
Of course he doesn't shop. He's wearing game shorts.
Those are all three items.
Like if you look in his closet, it's just Spurs uniforms, and that's it. Like that's all he has. He's like, if you invite him to your wedding, you can. But he's going to show up in his Spurs uniform.
He may have had a pocket on the T-shirt that may have had like a credit card in there or something.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't like that?
He even pays
what
for
about
this.
the Tim Duncan? What about the
Tim
Tim Duncan socks? Where do you get those? Where do you cop a pair of those at?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any Tim Duncan socks.
Lies. I don't believe
You're right.
you.
I only have Tim Duncan.
I don't believe
You're right.
you. All right.
I only have Tim Duncan socks.
Jacoby hanging out with us on this holiday weekend because I'm just taking it all the way 4 days.
Is it weekend?
Yeah, like weekend. It's
Why am I working?
Because you're hanging out with us.
Oh, because you invited me. That's right.
Thank you.
I'll
I
always come
appreciate
by
it. Jacoby's there. All right, we're around. I'll say.
All right, we found out where Marshawn is, and he's not going to get fined for this either. He was actually attending a charity soccer game hosted by the Seattle Sounders. He struggles with the rules of soccer, I think.
I think so.
Going through the blue team like no big deal. The red team in the 46th minute goes up 4-2 as long as they're not calling a handball. Oh.
He loses
Yeah.
flip-flop.
Yeah.
I'm here for everything there.
I'm here for all of that. Like, whatever. I'm doing it my way.
Did you see the keeper? The keeper's like trying to
Yes.
figure out how I'm going to tackle this guy. Just turned it down. I want nothing to do with Marshawn here.
It's all you, my friend. You got it. You know how that's how we do the show, David. We just take over. We just do whatever we want.
We break rules. We
Yes.
knock red cards out of the referee's hands. That's how we roll, isn't it?
Blow through stop signs. Producers love that. So let's go from NFL to NBA, but talk about the two, if you will. I don't know if you know this because you were on vacation.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
Steph Curry, Blake Griffin, and Kyle Lowry are just a few of the huge deals in the first few days of free agency. Combined, they'll make $473 million, almost $20 million more than what 7 of the top NFL players combined make. You know what? Listen, Gisha's right. That's guaranteed money. Guaranteed money, David. No matter what, that's mine.
With a G. Yes.
Yes, big G. So Sammy Watkins went to the Twitter If I was him, I'd weigh in too. So here's what he said. They should be paid more, and that the class of 2014 will change the market. We got to get paid more. I'm with you. J.J. Watt, basketball money is on another level right now, fully guaranteed. Again, Big G, ain't mad at you. Get what you can get. I don't know, David. It's a lot of money.
He might be a little mad.
He might be a little
mad. Then Greg Olson, the Panthers tight end, tweeted, when you see NBA free agency and this little tyke doing his step, look at that. That's really good stuff. I don't know if that's...
Listen,
who that guy
start
is.
him young, David, because that means that's retirement you're taken care of. That's $700 million guaranteed right there. You start right there.
Okay, so look at this. J.J. Redick, everyone sort of was shocked at what J.J. got. 1 year, $23 million to play for the Sixers. You compare that to some huge names in the NFL, and his contract, at least for the next year, dwarfs what these guys are going to be. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is on there, Le'Veon Bell, Julio, all these guys.
Yeah.
And J.J. Redick is making a ton more than those fellas. So,
wait a minute. What did you just say? What did you just say? J.J. Redick just made what?
$23 million for 1 year.
1 year.
Guaranteed, by the way. It's all good. You're a former NFL player. How does this set with you?
It's just unbelievable. I mean, I agree with what the players are seeing. I mean, the players right now, there's no OTAs, there's no camps going on. They're sitting here right now watching us on SportsCenter and watching all these big contracts come out. And it happens it's like this every year now. I mean, it's just coming out with all the social media now. Guys are voicing their opinion. But I remember playing ball and watching not only the NBA players, but the baseball players come up with these big contracts. And it was just mind-boggling to see the time that we put in as NFL football players and all the games and the physicality of everything, and then to see these basketball players and guys like a J.J. Redick. Hey, no offense, he should. He should make the money that he makes. But 1 year, $23 million, that's extreme.
Basically, it's better to be J.J. Redick than J.J. Watt right now, right? I mean, that's sort of how it slices.
Absolutely.
All right, so
that's J.J.'s fault. That's J.J. Watt's fault. I mean, J.J. Watt did an extension with 2 years left on his contract in 2014 instead of play it out and go to the market. So the
field is slanted against NFL players.
The field is slanted against NFL players, but not against NFL superstars. If J.J. Watt had wanted to play out his contract and insist on the Texans giving him more or guaranteeing more, he would have had them over a barrel. NFL players don't do that.
Because they're not as good of a bargaining position. Isn't that correct?
And because of the injury risk, I think. And I just think the culture of one league is so different from the culture of the other from a bargaining standpoint. They've never had that kind of success in terms of getting those kinds of gains, either in collective bargaining or individual bargaining, which is really the key here. We've talked about this with the star players. The ability of a big-time player and his agent to insist on a big money deal or insist on a fully guaranteed deal. We haven't seen that in the NFL.
I think it's a lot to do with the culture, too. I mean, you and I talked about this in the green room. The culture in the NFL is it's a hard cap, and we all know that it's a hard cap, unlike the NBA and baseball. But in the culture is a guy like a Derek Carr or a big-time quarterback, when their contract's up, they don't want to take all the money because it's a hard cap. They want to build around them as well. And I think the organization gives them that guilt feeling of, hey, listen, you can't just take all the cap. We still have to build around you. We still have to sign this offensive tackle. We still got to sign a corner. And they end up taking less, like Tom Brady. They want to build around him. They want to build a championship team. So that's the culture within the NFL as well.
It's interesting. The NFL grosses, I think, 50% more than the NBA, and yet the players are not quite making what the NBA players are making right now. Dan and Woody with us talking about the disparity between the two leagues. Carrie, back to you.
All right, David, thank you. From Wimbledon this morning, Venus Williams was asked after her match about the car accident in which one passenger was left dead from the other car. The man died last month, 13 days after the crash. Venus is being sued by the man's family for her role in the accident. In a statement last week, Venus said she was devastated and heartbroken by the accident. An emotional Venus Williams this morning talking to the media for the first time since the accident.
I'm completely speechless, and it's just... Yeah, I mean, I'm just...
Before we take any further questions for Venus, please be aware she's unable to say anything more about this. So I'd ask you to respect her wishes, please. Can we just give her a minute, please? Do you want to take a minute?
Maybe I should go.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, uncomfortable and heartbreaking to watch. Venus returned a few minutes later to answer a few questions about the second round match she goes on to. We'll have more closer.